Hello, Virgo. Something is arriving from two directions at once, and that the simultaneity of it, the specific quality of two significant things moving towards you through different channels at the same time, is what makes the energy of tonight's reading unlike anything I have sat with recently. Because most of the time, life delivers its significant moments sequentially, one thing at a time, one door, then another, one area of life shifting while the others hold still, as though the universe rations its generosity to avoid overwhelming the person receiving it. That rationing may be ending for you. What I feel tonight does not have the quality of one thing approaching. It has the quality of a convergence of multiple streams that have been moving separately, each building its own momentum, each following its own invisible course through the landscape of your life, arriving suddenly and simultaneously at the same place. You, right now, in this particular season that has perhaps not yet revealed to you what it is actually carrying. It is carrying more than you know. Let me speak first about the nature of unexpected grace, because the word miracle is one that deserves honest handling rather than the inflated, everything will be perfect treatment it sometimes receives. A miracle, in the truest and most useful sense of the word, is not the suspension of natural law. It is the arrival of something that the current visible circumstances gave no reason to predict. Something that comes from the invisible current of what has been building beneath the surface, from the accumulated weight of choices made with integrity, of energy invested without immediate return, of faith maintained through seasons that actively discouraged it, and surfaces into the visible world with a suddenness that feels from the outside like the impossible becoming real. From the inside, miracles feel like recognition, like something clicking into place that was always meant to be there, like the world finally catching up to a truth that the person receiving the miracle has been quietly, stubbornly, sometimes exhaustedly carrying for a very long time. You have been carrying something in both domains, in the territory of love and in the territory of material life. You have been carrying something that the current circumstances have not yet reflected accurately. A sense of what is possible, a knowing beneath the rational management of expectations of what your life is actually capable of containing. That knowing may be about to find its confirmation in the visible world. Soft sigh. In the old symbolic language, the archetype that presides over the convergence of love and abundance is one of the most luminous in the entire tradition, the star in conjunction with the Ace of Pentacles. The star as the guiding truth that persisted through darkness, the fixed point that oriented the journey even when the destination was invisible. And the Ace of Pentacles as the first concrete, physical, undeniable manifestation of something that was always real but is now becoming real in the world. When these two energies meet the sustained hope and the tangible arrival, what is produced is not simply a good moment. It is the specific and extraordinary experience of something that existed only as faith becoming something that exists as fact. Faith becoming fact. That is what may be approaching in both the love and the abundance dimensions of your life. At the same time, let me speak about the love dimension first, because I feel it most immediately in the energy of tonight's reading, as though it is the closer of the two arrivals, the one whose momentum has already crossed from the invisible into the barely visible. There is someone and what they are about to do, what they are in the process of gathering the courage or the clarity or the specific configuration of readiness to do, falls into the category of the unexpected, not because it has no precedent in what you have felt between you, but because you had perhaps stopped trusting the precedent, had perhaps organized yourself around a more cautious version of what was possible, a version that protected you from the full exposure of hoping for something that might not materialize. It is materializing in the specific, concrete, no longer possible to dismiss way of something that has crossed from potential into approaching reality. What this person carries for you, what they have been carrying through whatever distance or silence or complicated navigation has characterized the recent chapter, is about to find its expression, not in the careful, managed way of someone protecting themselves from the consequences of full honesty, in the full way, the way that comes from someone who has finally passed all their own resistance, arrived at the understanding that what they feel is too real to continue treating as something optional. That understanding changes how they move, changes the quality of their intention toward you, changes what they are willing to risk in service of what they know is true, and what they are willing to risk the specific, costly, vulnerability requiring risk of moving toward you with full honesty may be larger than anything they have been willing to risk before in this connection. Which means what arrives from them when it arrives will carry the specific weight of something that cost them something. And things that cost something, when they reach you, carry a quality of realness that the easier offerings simply do not possess. Receive it with the full, open, completely yourself quality of someone who knows their own worth, not performing reception, actually receiving, letting it reach the places it was always intended to reach, letting it move you in the ways it is genuinely moving, letting the full reality of being loved with this quality of intention settle somewhere deep, rather than being held at the managed distance of someone who is still protecting themselves from believing in something good. Believe in it. Carefully, wisely, with your eyes open and your discernment fully engaged, but believe, because what is approaching in the love dimension of your life has earned the belief, has been building toward deserving it through whatever private process brought this person to the point of being willing to move toward you without the safety net of ambiguity. Now, let me speak about the abundance dimension. And I want to speak about it in the same breath as the love, because they are not separate stories tonight. They are the same story expressed through different channels. The same fundamental shift, the same internal permission being granted, the same root belief being revised, producing its effects simultaneously in the material world and in the relational world, because the root belief governs both. The root belief, and I want to name it directly because I think it is the most important thing in this reading, is the belief about what you are allowed to have, not what you are capable of having, not what you theoretically deserve, what you actually allow yourself to have. What you permit yourself to receive and hold without immediately finding a reason to release it, to undermine it, to hold it at the slight but consistent distance of someone who has learned that having good things is followed in their particular life by losing them. That learned distance from abundance, from love, from the full and unheld version of anything genuinely good is what may be shifting right now. Not through a decision exactly, through something that happened or has been happening in the interior of your life that has quietly, without announcement, begun to revise the fundamental assumption, the assumption that good things are temporary, that they come with catches, that the appropriate relationship to something good arriving is cautious appreciation rather than full, unguarded, completely committed reception. Soft sigh. What if they are not temporary? What if they do not come with catches? What if the version of your life that is forming right now in both the love and the material dimensions simultaneously, through the convergence of multiple streams of momentum arriving at the same place at the same time, is simply what becomes available when the internal distance from good things finally, genuinely closes. The distance may be closing. I feel it in the energy of tonight's reading as a softening, the specific structural softening of a resistance that has been held in place for a long time and is beginning with the particular grace of something that releases rather than collapses, to let go, not dramatically, not with the announcement that significant internal shifts sometimes imagine they require. Simply letting go, the held breath releasing, the braced posture finding slowly a different relationship with the ground beneath it. The person who has been living at a slight remove from their own abundance, discovering in the specific quality of what is now approaching that the remove is no longer necessary. Something is coming toward you in the material dimension that carries the quality of the unexpected precisely because your current circumstances have been providing no obvious pathway toward it. The pathway has been invisible, which is characteristic of the most significant arrivals. They do not travel the visible roads. They move through the invisible current of alignment, through the specific and precise relationship between what a person has been becoming internally and what becomes available to them externally as a result. What you have been becoming through the difficult seasons, through the sustained effort without proportionate return, through the choices made with integrity when compromise was available and tempting, has been creating a specific kind of alignment. The kind that the visible world catches up to slowly, sometimes agonizingly slowly, but catches up to eventually with a completeness that makes the weight make sense. Not justified by the weight nothing requires suffering to deserve resolution, but proportionate to it, the arrival equal in its significance to the duration and the depth of what preceded it. That proportionate arrival may be forming now in both the love and the material dimensions. At the same time, because they share the same root, the same permission, the same alignment, the same fundamental revision of what you allow yourself to have. And when the root changes, both trees feel it simultaneously. Both trees are feeling it. I want to speak to the miracle quality of what is approaching, not to inflate it beyond what honesty allows, but to honor the specific and genuine unusualness of a moment when two significant things arrive together rather than sequentially. Because there is something about the simultaneity that deserves to be named. Something about love and abundance arriving in the same season, feeding each other, reinforcing each other, each making the other more sustainable, that represents a quality of life that most people experience only occasionally, briefly, as a peak rather than as a new baseline. What I feel forming in your energy is not a peak. I keep returning to this distinction because I think it is the most important one. Peaks are followed by descents by the natural return to a previous level that makes the peak feel, in retrospect, like a temporary visit to somewhere you do not actually live. What is forming has a different quality. The quality of a new level becoming the ground of the extraordinary becoming through the specific mechanism of internal shift and external convergence, simply the ordinary texture of your life going forward. Soft sigh. You deserve an ordinary that looks like this. Not the ordinary of managing and getting by and making the best of insufficient circumstances. The ordinary of a life that fits, that reflects in its daily texture the actual scale of who you are and what you are capable of, and what you have always, in the deepest and most honest part of yourself, known was possible for you. The ordinary of being loved in a way that feels right rather than managed. The ordinary of material circumstances that match your effort rather than consistently lagging behind it. That ordinary is what is forming in the convergence of the love and the abundance, in the simultaneous arrival of two things that share a root and are therefore arriving together as the natural expression of a single significant internal shift. Open to both, not separately as two different blessings requiring two different modes of reception, together in the integrated, whole person, completely yourself way of someone who has finally given themselves the permission to be fully, simultaneously, without qualification, abundant in love and in life, and in the daily living, breathing reality of what it feels like to inhabit a version of your existence that actually matches who you are. That version is approaching from two directions at once, with the full, unhurried, completely inevitable momentum of something that has been building long enough that its arrival is no longer a question of if, only of when. And when, in the quality of the energy I am feeling tonight, feels very close. closer than the current circumstances suggest, closer than the visible pathway indicates, arriving through the invisible channels that significant things always travel through alignment, through the specific and precise meeting of internal readiness and external momentum directly toward you in love, in abundance, at the same time as the natural, earned, completely deserved expression of everything you have been and everything you have been becoming through all of it. Let it find you open. Let it find you ready. Let it find you standing in the full, unguarded, completely sufficient reality of who you are, which is, it turns out, exactly what called it into being in the first place. If this reading found you at the exact moment it was meant to, if something here named what is forming in both dimensions of your life and gave it a shape you could finally hold, stay close, subscribe, and come back. Because the convergence that is approaching deserves to be witnessed all the way through to its most luminous and most complete expression. And the next reading will be there for every extraordinary, ordinary, completely yours moment of it.